I had this one coach who at the time I thought really disliked me. He made me cry one time, and looking back now, honestly, I would do anything to have him. He's my type of manager. I started playing Sunday League all the way up until 11. But before I joined Leeds, you'd have to go on trial. Out of 3 coaches, I think at the time 2 had to say yes, and only 1 said yes. In the end, the second coach eventually, changed his mind, and that's when, I signed for Leeds at 11. That was a huge shock to the system, coming from Sunday League to academy football. I'm not ashamed to say that I joined as probably the worst player. And I would say by the time I was 13, 14, I was within the top, 2 or 3 players within that team. So I adjusted, really quickly, and that's how I got to Leeds. From probably the second year of my time at Leeds Academy, I had a coach called Phil Wilson, who at the time I thought really disliked me. He made me cry one time, and looking back now, honestly, I would do anything to have him. He's my type of manager. Straight to the point. If you're good, rarely get praise. When you're bad, you are getting told that you're very bad. Critical if you wasn't doing the basics right in training. Back then, obviously, you're very sensitive as a young teenager then. But looking back now, he was pivotal to my development. Going to school on Monday, everybody, all the lads are talking about, we just played this local team, and obviously I've just played Man United or something that out trumps who they've just played, but I had nobody to speak to about that, if that makes sense. They're all speaking about, we battered you at the weekend, we outplayed you, we're going to win the local league. In one way, obviously I was over the moon that I played for Leeds, but I missed Sunday League so much at the beginning, so I'll always cherish, appreciate grassroots Sunday League football. I was training with the first team from 15 years old at Leeds, seeing the likes of Alan Smith, Lucas Radaby, Olivier Decour, them sort of players, just walking about at Leeds. Obviously that was the dream. So there was a bit of a shift in my behaviour and how I applied myself at school. I made a stupid risk that I thought that I was going to be a professional footballer, and I'm very, very, very lucky that it came true. If it wasn't for this player, Aaron Lennon, I'm not sure I would have lasted 2 years at the club. I was playing football with friends, and there was about 20 of us playing, and at the time I knew there was some interest from Spurs, and he called me. I didn't know him at the time, but growing up at Leeds, Aaron Lennon and James Milner were always the references because they made their debuts for Leeds at 15, 16, and how they were as young players, and there was always the reference as how you should be. I can't explain how it was having someone like him call me, and he explained how good Tottenham was as a football club, and it'd be good for my development to join. Everyone will tell you from that era. I followed him around the place. I stuck to him like glue. Whenever he went to eat, I'd go and eat. Whenever he'd have a haircut, I'd go and have a haircut. Whenever he went out, I was out with him. He took me under his wing like a big brother. So I moved there alone as a 16-year-old, and I didn't have anybody. You had to make new friends, and He really, really looked after me, and without him, I would have returned to the north a lot quicker than 15 years. For me, the journey that me and Fabian Delph have come on is probably something I'm most proud of. We were the two poorest. I don't care what anybody says. We was the two poorest in that team at the time. It was difficult for our parents, just like it will be for parents today, to get us to training. My mum, God bless her, you know, we'd have to go to the laundrette, and you know, she worked in a factory, and which is obviously no shame in that at all. But you know, we didn't have a washing machine. For her to get my kit washed, you know, three or four times a week, that in itself was a huge ask back then. And then for my dad to arrange travel or take me 9 times out of 10 himself from Doncaster to Leeds, Fabian, you won't mind me telling you this, he'd have to catch 3 buses from Bradford for him to have 3 Premier League titles, I don't know, 4 Carabao Cups, maybe 2 or 3 FA Cups, to captain England, to play for City, captain Villa, breakthrough, play for Leeds, play for Everton, and you know, play for his country 30 times, and for myself to play for Tottenham, Newcastle, Sunderland, play for my country 28 times, play in the World Cup, play in the Olympics, play in the Euros. We still talk to each other every single day. 7 o'clock in the morning, we wake up, and you know, 10 o'clock at night till we go to bed. We're comparing, you know, the runs and workouts that we've done throughout the day, and I'd say that's probably my biggest, I don't know if that's an achievement, but it's just something that I'm so proud of. There was like 3 seasons in a row at 18, no, I'd say from 18, 19, 20, where I would play the last 4 or 5 games of the Premier League. I'd always do well, and then each pre-season I'd come back thinking, okay, he's seen that I can compete at this level. Okay, I'm going to play a bit more this season, and it wouldn't happen. So again, you know, I'd be frustrated and not react in the correct way, and you know, be sulking and you know, in that manner. I was told by Harry and Tim Sherwood, they told me, you know, if you change your attitude, you will play for England and you will be the best in the country. But after that conversation, I handled the difficult times a lot better. My first coach at Tottenham was Clive Allen, who was the club legend at the club. John McDermott, if you don't know much about him, then all I can say is myself, Jake Livermore, Andros Townsend, Harry Kane, Ryan Mason, Tom Carroll, Nathan Byrne, a good, you know, 10, 15 players have come through Spurs and had a great career from his development at the club. Harry, he gave me my debut, so without a doubt, it's, you know, I owe him. I joined Tottenham as a midfielder, but Harry said if I took left back more serious, I would have a chance of playing for England. And thinking back then, I'm just thinking, yeah, whatever. But yeah, Harry, I have to say I owe him a massive, massive thank you. Tim worked with the younger age groups at the time, but Harry listened to Tim, and Tim was very, very old school and still is. Having a not so good attitude with Tim Sherwood is not the best thing to do, because you know, when it's not right, he will tell you it's not right. They're the sort of managers that I love, that, you know, will tell you things that maybe you don't want to hear, or in the not so nicest way, and then, you know, just shake your hand afterwards and it's back to work. And that was the sort of guy, manager Tim was. I would say from 24, 25, 26, I was playing for Mauricio Pochettino, and I was playing, and Tottenham was playing the best football possibly that the club had ever seen, and the best football of my career. I was playing for my country. I was the number one for the country. Every game, you know, it was me and Kyle Walker. He was still at Tottenham at the time. It was, you know, just about us, and obviously Harry Kane. But it was just about, you know, how well that we was doing. So at the time, sort of feeling on top of the world. Injuries at that time for me was rare, unheard of. But then I got my I got my second big injury, but this injury came, that was tough. That was very tough. Then I'm injured. I had an operation, and the team just continued to win and win and win and win, and stayed unbeaten. And obviously that is unbelievable. That's great. But still, to see the teams winning, and you're not part of it. Obviously, I didn't want them to miss me, but it would have been nice if it looked like, you know, that they still needed me at left back, and they just continued like I wasn't there, and that was so difficult to take, and yeah, I didn't cope with that well. The closest manager I've ever had, I dare say he is and was a friend. Never been coached by a manager like Mauricio Pochettino in my life. Never seen football viewed. He lived and breathed football, and I'd never seen that before. He video recorded training. I'd never seen that before. He video recorded gym sessions. I'd never heard of that before or seen that before. How you walked, how you said good morning, the time you arrived through security, time you arrived up for breakfast, time you finished breakfast, just everything. I've never seen a manager so thorough. Such a privilege that I got to work under him. Learned, developed so much under him, and I had a bond with him that was deeper than player-manager. It was discussing, private, personal things. Again, never really had that relationship with a manager. It was unheard of for me. The only time I really went to the manager in Mauricio was my dad called me and told me my uncle had committed suicide, and there's a set of traffic lights just before training, Tottenham's training ground, and Tottenham were on a day off. The lads were on a day off, but I was injured, so I was going in. My dad had just called me, and pulled up to the lights, and first person I called was Mauricio, and he's at home because the lads are on a day off, and he just said, "Where are you now?" And I said, "Oh, I've just arrived at training." He just said, "I'll be there in 10 minutes." He was great. He was a rock, and just him. It was his day off, and just for him to, "Okay, where are you? I'll be there in 10 minutes." Took me straight into his office. Obviously, I was distraught, upset, and he was great. So him helping me through that time, I'll be forever in his debt. I would say he's the greatest that overall that I've had, and but what I'd do to have that time again with working under him, because he's the best coach that I've worked under. I've still had offers and opportunities to go and play this season. It's not as if I've been totally just locked in my bedroom. Whenever the phones rang, in terms of watching football, it just wasn't something that interested me. The World Cup, no, did it? I lied, sorry. I watched 1 hour of the final, but before the final, not watched one game, didn't watch, one England game, didn't interest me in the slightest. Before this year, I'd always plan my evenings around, if there's football on, right, I'm sitting down on the sofa at this time, like, don't disturb me. So the first time I'd gone back to that was, watching Man City and Bayern in the Champions League. So, that was the first time, I'd gone back to where, love watching football, analysing players, in group chats. Did you see so-and-so's performance? Did you see, his goal? That was the first time I'd gone back to that in so long. I did my first punditry gig on Sunday against Newcastle, and I enjoyed it a lot. I wish the result and performance wasn't against my, obviously, former team, but it's the first time I'd been in a stadium in a long time, and just seeing football played in a way that I saw it played by Newcastle was absolutely amazing. Surrounded by the atmosphere, just seeing football being played in an amazing way. It just made me feel like, I want another go at this. I want to be part of this again. I'm open to doing punditry, but over the last couple of weeks, something's been reignited within myself to make me want to give football one last crack. I'm hungry to do so. I want to do so, and I believe that I've still got something to offer at any level of football.